I understand the power of peace. I have peace within, and I seek peace in my environment. I remove myself from situations that affect my internal stability. I choose peace. I choose to associate with others who respect peace. I make intentional and deliberate choices about who I allow to interact with me in life because I respect peace. I will not argue, fuss, or fight. I will exchange confusion and strife for peace. I walk in peace. Peace surrounds me and peace follows me. I change the atmosphere around me with the peace that flows from within me. This is Dr. Anita with another diamond moment. The diamonds of our lives are produced through time, heat, and pressure. It's what we do with the experiences of our lives that can either enhance us or can continue to take us down a road that we do not want to travel. Since our last episode, those of us living in the United States have experienced another very disturbing event, which happened at a political rally. I'm not going to go into it because I believe that everyone probably on the face of the earth knows what that occurrence was. But I wanted to say something that was very interesting to me regarding, as our subject matter says, peacefulness, the power of peace, and the fact that when this event happened, the immediate response from the person who was the intended victim was that we need to dial down the temperature. We need to be more kind. We need to do things differently. And at that moment, they vowed that they would not continue the political rhetoric that was taking place and that things would be different, only to have a few days later things to go back exactly the way that they are. And I brought up this subject of peace being the meditation in a Diamond Journey journal, becoming as a process. And also just to understand that we duplicate, we replicate, we magnify the what takes place around us by the way that we think, by the way that we act, by the way that we interact with others, by those that we are around. And that same old expression that says birds of a feather flock together, I think is very appropriate for situations like this, that when you live in a peaceful way, there outside of those who have determined to extinguish that peace, there would be peace around you, hopefully. And it's the way that we view any situation in our lives to determine whether we gain or receive anxiety from that situation, or whether truly we're able to keep ourselves in a peaceful state. When we're talking about becoming the change that we want to see in the world, we also have to look at the atmosphere, the environmental emotion of the world that we want to live in. Do we want to live in peace, or do we want to live in chaos? Do we want people around us who are peaceful and loving, or do we want people around us who are filled with disrespect, with hate, with anger? And when we magnify those emotions and look deeper, is that the type of world that we want to live in? Sometimes we're, especially from particular faith traditions, you're praying and hoping and believing. And sometimes it's a matter of being. And that if enough people dedicate themselves to being the change, we automatically see a change. The law of attraction deals specifically with that attracting to yourself that primary emotion that you are displaying at a particular moment. In just using the occurrence or the run-up to the preceding events, that particular person for years has spouted a rhetoric of hate, of disrespect for others, of intolerance for people who are different. And amazingly enough, the person who came out to harm them was a person who, from the surface, espoused their ideas. They approved of guns. Evidently, they had no problem with gun violence. They didn't have an issue with harming someone else. And so you see that hurtful, harmful, emotional state came back on that person. The interesting thing was that immediately the word that came out was, only God could have saved me from this. We've got to be kinder. We've got to change the way we do things. And then they proceeded, once the lights were on and standing center stage and all eyes looking forward, to go right back to the same rhetoric that produced a person that would take your life. We have to be the change. We can't just talk about it. We have to be that change. We have to allow the world around us to be different. We have to factor in that sometimes we don't get what we want. And that's okay too, because within that, there's a lesson to be learned so that when it comes around again, we can make a different choice and we can have a different outcome. I want you to imagine that if you were living in a place of peace within your heart, and everyone that you attracted to you also lived in that place, and you were able to combine the energy of that peaceful energy that's striving to do and to bring about good within the world. If it were just a small group of people, that would make a change to that neighborhood, to that community, to that group of people. But if we were able to spread that same understanding even farther, that we would have an even greater impact on the world and the world that we want to live in. We must imagine that the power that we carry as an individual, magnified, and if you know Scripture says that one can put 1,000 to flight and 2 10,000, which says that the increase in that level of vibration is magnified exponentially because we have added our strength into the strength of our neighbor or the person next to us. Thinking from this perspective and then putting movement into our belief and into our energy brings us to a place where we are not taken in by someone who promises. And once we see them, we know that they are not prepared to bring about the changes that they promise to make. We have to take responsibility for the world that we live in. We have to take that responsibility. And in that, we must be the kinder, gentler world that we want to live in. I think that a terrible mistake has been made, particularly within the United States, as it relates to guns and their proliferation throughout this society. And I believe that when things get out of control the way that they did, it is our obligation to look again at what we believe in order to change the environment and the situation that we live in. In the United States, there are drills, active shooter drills, that have become a part of our country and our culture. There is an entire generation of children now that have gone to school under the threat of death. The only thing that they need to do in order to die is to go to school. And in going to school and preparing them on a regular basis for death changes that child. So we have a generation of young people who have grown up with an understanding that I can kiss my parents goodbye in the morning, and that may be the last time that we see each other in this existence. And personally, I don't think that's a healthy thing. I don't think that's a good thing. I think that that young man at 20 years old had been groomed that not having longevity was just another facet of life. And I think that's very unfortunate. On the other hand, that particular political candidate immediately understood the gravity of the words that had been spoken for years. They immediately got that the universe, God, the Creator, was giving them another opportunity to change the way that they have been living and the way that they have groomed their followers to think. And for that moment, when they changed their minds, there was a different type of waiting for the other shoe to fall, so to speak. Are they going to stay on this track, or are they going to change? And sure enough, they changed. So, when we are desirous of our world to be different, we really do have to understand that it is up to us to make our lives different. That if we give the power to some, we're going to continue having what we've always had. And unfortunately, within that mindset, there is not room for everyone. There are only some people who can rest at night and feel as though the rhetoric is not addressed to them. But if it is, if you are among the ethnicities, if you have the characteristics, if you look a certain way, talk a certain way, have something identifiable about you that can be readily discerned, you might want to consider whether that particular person really does have your best interest at heart. When we want our world to change, we must be that change. If we want to have a kinder world, a gentler world, we must bring about a kinder and a gentler world. Imagine your life without the negative voices in your head. Then live your life without them, yours and everyone else's. Don't allow someone to take you where you don't want to go. Be the change that you want in your life. Allow yourself to have a different outcome. Allow yourself to have peace. Allow yourself to combine your energy with the energy of others around you. And on a massive scale, our entire world's vibrational level, love, care for one another can change. And we'll find ourselves living in a world that we want to live in, not in one that we've been forced to, because we did not participate in a process that could change our lives and the lives of others. If you haven't done so, please join me on YouTube. I'm going to be uploading some new videos. We're going to be looking farther at how to make these changes within ourselves, because the only way that we can change the world is to change ourselves. And once my little portion of the world is changed, my little me is changed, and I interact with others who are doing likewise, our entire world can change. Become the world that you want to be by making changes within you, remaining open-minded and understanding that you might not have everything right. You may have misunderstood. You may need to look at that facet of the diamond from a different angle in order to see a different light shine through. You may need to reevaluate the people that are around you. You may need to reevaluate. You may need to deconstruct your belief systems in order to have what you would like to have in your life. You don't have to get permission for it. You do it. Please join me on NoomVibe, on FanBase, on YouTube, and continue listening from whatever platform you hear me on. Thank you for those that have subscribed. Thank you for those that have liked the videos. Thank you for those that are continuing to stay with me. Please visit my website at DrAnitaMc.com. That's DrAnitaMc.com. And join me next time.